cut from Independence, didn't even get a look at Charlotte, and then cut from Charleston. So I think realizing that my path is not like everyone else's. Started at CSA, like played soccer, kind of all sports. And I think collegiate athletes really understand that they're good at their sport once they get to high school. Like, there's that separation where you're like, okay, there's something here. I might actually not suck, or I might be a little bit better than some people. And I think when I got to my freshman year of high school, around 8th grade, I realized maybe a bit of a separation or a bit of potential. Um, I'd say I was a bit more ambitious, a bit hungrier than people around me, and that helped a lot. And so from starting at CSA, which honestly, you go to South Charlotte, it's like pretty much every single kid plays at CSA. Starting
Yeah.
at CSA, like had a super good foundation of good coaches, guys that cared, and ultimately people that believed in me. I think that's the biggest thing, regardless of academy, college, high school. You got to go where you're believed in, because it doesn't matter how good you are. If you're not believed in by your coach or the people around you, like they'll run you to the ground. I mean,
That's good.
even if you're not as talented, if someone believes in you, like you're gonna get opportunity and get built up. So I think CSA believed in me, which was awesome to see. Like being able to play in the DA with a lot of guys that are in college now, a lot of really good players, and to be able to kind of rotate, playing up a year, playing with my age group, there was true belief, and I think I saw that exhibited when my freshman year I spent time with the Charlotte Independence training. Just had a unique opportunity just to get in training. Like nothing, I knew nothing was really going to come from it, but to be 14, 15 years old in the USL championship, just training with those guys gave me loads of experience that I think really helped me when I went back to academy days, being able to know what it's like to play against men, not just like high schoolers. So I think going from CSA and then having a really, really awesome U16, 17 team with Steve Gummer and a lot of really good players that are now at Division I schools, that set me up for the opportunity to play at Sporting KC. I think we played a showcase in Florida. I was one of the few 04s on that team, one of the younger guys that was kind of integrated myself as a consistent starter, and on that team, which was really special and a really cool opportunity, especially being young. I had a really, really good fall.
Okay.
And I honestly have no idea who recruited me. I just know that John Perry, JP, I don't know if he's still at Sporting. I got a call from him asking if I wanted to come out to go on trial with them in October.
Okay.
My sophomore year of high school, was like, yeah, for sure, let's do it. Went out for the week. Super, super fun experience. I mean, going from academy DA to like a MLS established academy, like with the facilities and homegrown players that are now in the MLS there, and seeing like the first team facility and the second team, and really seeing what it's like to be treated as a young pro for 1 week, I think really caught my attention, really sparked a flame in me that was like, okay, this is something I want to do. And seeing the day-to-day life of those players, some people get turned off to it, saying, I don't want this. This is too much. And I think
Right.
for me, I was like, I mean, I'm starving for it. Like I'm starving for it. Um, had a good week on trial. Ended up getting the opportunity and an offer extended to come play. Took that offer, played there for a few months until COVID hit. And I think that experience at Sporting was probably one of a really big turning point for me, just really seeing what it's like to be rewarded for your play, where you play
Mm.
one good week, you're up with the U19s, you play another good week, you're up with the USL team, and watching some of my friends go from the U17s to the USL team to the first team, and then get bumped all the way back down because they didn't have a great week.
Oh.
So just seeing how marginal it is, where
Mm.
it's a lot of it is you win off your athleticism, but you can't at the higher level. Everyone's just as athletic, everyone's just as technical, just as fast, and to see the importance of a soccer brain, I think I learned quickly, maybe with some error, of not being one of the best players that I thought I was. And so I really got to learn so much at Sporting, and like playing in GA Cup for like the first time I ever played with him is GA Cup. I get to Sporting, we fly out to LA, and I'm like playing against Seattle Sounders, like first game.
Yeah.
And so going from maybe a smaller little DA club to going to playing big teams and being in that type of environment showed me what it's like and showed me that it's possible. And COVID hit, like, and everyone kind of went home. So I think that's a blessing and a curse for me because I didn't want to go home. I felt like I was really starting to establish myself and really be a player with potential at the club, earning respect of older guys and coaches and whatnot. Went home, and then honestly, right as that all happened, Charlotte FC started. And long story short, I was like, well, it's the same type of team, just at home. Let's take a stab at it. And played that U17 year at Charlotte. I think that was kind of my breakout season. I think being a leader on that team, being an older guy who had experience with the MLS academies, what it's like to play in that environment, how to build younger guys up, but also how to hold a higher standard. I think I was still learning how to do that, but I think I still had a little bit of experience that some younger guys did not. And being able to, share the field with guys like Brian Romero, Jack Neely, who are now first team players, to be able to play alongside them, help them, and they helped me. Just it's kind of full circle to see all of it play out. I think that U17 year was fantastic. I got to play as a consistent starter. Felt really, really challenged, but also very established, which was awesome. Ended up committing to UVA, where kind of ride this worldly high of good player on a MLS team, committed to an ACC school. Really cool times, and I'm a firm believer that God's ways are better than mine, and His plans will happen regardless of what I want. And it was clear from the beginning that I was not supposed to go to UVA, and that God wanted me at a Christian school, and He made that very clear, and that's what happened. Ended up decommitting, going to my senior year. Went on a visit, talked to other schools and whatnot, but I knew going on a visit to Liberty and whatnot, what that meant for me. I knew that's where I was supposed to be. Ended up committing there. My senior year kind of was a bit different than most. Kind of bounced around teams, spent time down in Charleston with the Charleston Battery, training for some times with Stumptown, who's not even a team anymore, and the NISA.
Yep.
Just kind of been all around the park, just trying to land a foothold in the professional environment, either to avoid going to college or just to get that next level experience. Um, First team preseason came around. I wasn't invited to it, which like part of me thought I was going to be. It definitely felt like I was going to be, but I was not, and that's okay. So that was tough to miss out on Charlotte FC's first team preseason. Ended up getting into first team preseason with the Charlotte Independents, which was a really cool experience. Felt like it was definitely a playable environment where it was definitely professional. It was also some young, ambitious guys that I got to be surrounded with. Ended up signing that academy contract with them. Was on the team for, gosh, I don't know, X amount of months.
Okay.
Unsure, and which was really fun. It was good to be thought of more as a player rather than just some academy guy. And I think that's the real importance. Like, how are you going to be viewed as like a training player or a player? And I think that's like the big thing for anyone going to college, maybe even trying to take a stab at that professional world. Like, are you going to be thought of as a player? Because if you are, you have a shot. But if you're going to be thought of as an academy guy or just a training player, you got to go where you're valued. And that's kind of the constant theme I've seen in my life and career or whatnot, that
Yeah.
value is the biggest thing. And I think the USL2 season rolled around, guys wanted to get into more significant games. So ended up playing USL2 for the summer before going to college, which was great. I mean, getting to play 90 minutes Wednesday, Saturday for 2 months was a huge value against Division I college guys, especially being in high school. So really just getting a taste of exactly what it's like right before going to college. I think that was the biggest thing. And I was valued on that team. I was valued as a consistent starter, valued as someone who could contribute. And I think that set me up for a personal successful fall at Liberty. I get to school and it's tough. Like, it's a very different game. College soccer compared to anything else. It's a lot of athletes kicking a ball, not as much soccer. And I think I'm a decently athletic person, so I think the ability to hang in athletically and also apply what I've learned being in and out of first team training with Charlotte FC, being in and out of the USL, like being able to combine the two set me up for a personal successful season at Liberty. Started every single game in the fall, didn't miss one start, didn't miss a game, played most 90s until my calves cramped and got subbed out. But it was a very cool season. Just it's a new way of life, living in the dorms, sleeping in the room with a roommate, going to classes, trying to figure out how to eat healthy, how to get sleep, how to take classes, how to make friends, how to be wise on and off the field, make the right decisions that are going to set you up and your team for success. Going from a leadership role kind of my whole life to being a freshman and having to earn my voice, earn my leadership was something I haven't had to do. And that came with its own challenges and humility that I had to embrace, which I'm very thankful for. Some older guys who helped lead me in that. And the season was super fun. I mean, scoring a goal against Maryland and scoring my first two games, playing against UCLA and like at UCLA, just some really cool experiences. Being young and being able to play in those games was really cool. And I think there were some accolades that came along with how my season went, and I'm thankful for all that. And then like the spring came, and I think any college guy can tell you the spring sucks because it's just a whole lot of lifting and a whole lot of training, not a lot of playing. And so that was its own beast to kind of push through it, and I think we did. And then that spring season came, and we haven't lost a game this year. We went undefeated in the spring. We went undefeated in Columbia. We have not lost a game in 2023. I think a lot of changes came with our team, a lot of new ideas, new leadership, new players, some players exiting that maybe needed to exit. And I think now there's just a lot of expectance and ambition for this fall. We keep a lot of pride in our record right now, from going to have a pretty average season last year to not losing a game this calendar year is really something we take pride in. And I think also, like, I take pride and we take pride in something more, and that's our faith. And we have something more to play for, something more to believe in, to fight for. And I think if anything, that's going to separate us from any other team. And I think the opportunity to play in a conference that if you win, you get in the tournament, and to have games like Wake Forest on your schedule and to go and want to just punch them in the mouth, because why the heck not? I think that's kind of my ambition and spirit for this fall. And, you got about 2 weeks, maybe a week until it all starts again. And it goes really, really fast, way faster than I thought. It honestly feels like a few weeks ago I was getting there for freshman preseason, and now I'm like, dang, all right, sophomore year, all right, I know what's going on a little bit. Now let's put our money where our mouth is and take care of business. But I think that's kind of maybe a hyper accelerated summary, high school to now.
That was pretty good, man. You kept most of the details in, but I will tell you, it does go by fast. Almost just said it all. It goes by fast, man.
I know, it's crazy. I'm like, dude, what the heck? It's flying by.
It'll but as long as you realize it's going by fast, you'll value it more every minute. Every second. It's pretty cool. Exactly. But I heard you say something. It's pretty. I mean, you said this a lot, but it's going where you're valued and going where. There was another word you used. I can't remember now. You used it a few times, but going where you're valued. And I think those are tricky conversations to have, and tricky to figure those things out for athletes, and there's not always an answer there's not a one-all answer. But it's doing the due diligence to figure that out, and you have to get out there and get on a couple teams to understand that too. Right. Like if you look at your journey right now, like it's, I'm not saying you're down and up, but it's a roller coaster, man. And you've got to figure it out for yourself, and you can try to learn from others, but until you get out there and you see where you're valued and where you stand, whether it's going to a camp, whether it's going to train with a team that's higher up just to see what it's like, like you said, you were training with some of these teams. So by the time you got into college, like I remember seeing you at the beginning of your freshman year, and maybe you would say it was a high level, and it was hard, and it should be, but I saw you holding your own pretty early on, and I was like, wow, he's actually like, typically guys come in freshmen, like you got a little bit of a lower gear, a lower speed, but I remember seeing you out one of the first days you were out there, and You're going 100 miles per hour. I mean, it looked you kind of, but that's all that figuring out and trying and playing on all those different teams.
Yeah, I think people can't confuse the difference of being valued and being comfortable. I think once you're comfortable, you're in danger. But if you're not valued, you're almost in just as much danger. And it's like you said, this game is a selfish game. It really is. Like coaches don't win, they get fired. Strikers don't score, they get subbed out. Defenders get scored on, they get subbed out. Teams don't win, they get relegated. They don't get in playoffs. It's a selfish game. Like you don't put yourself out there, you're not going to get looked at to play at the next level. So there's a very fine line of finding your value, but not being comfortable.
Mhm.
Like if you're playing, I think, all the time and not being challenged, but you don't want to explore something else because you're worried you're not going to be as valued, you're not gonna improve. You're not gonna go anywhere. But I think you can't let yourself be undervalued as a player. But that's why you dip your toes in the water. And at some point, I think selfishness in one aspect is okay. That's the only time I'll probably say selfishness is okay. If you know you can play and you're being undervalued after time of trial and time of conversation, then maybe you look to move on. It's not this, oh, you don't get what you want, you quit. That's settling for comfortability. But it's finding where you're valued. Like I tell guys who are looking to be recruited to college, and I'm like, listen, unfortunately, money talks. Money talks. I promise. And I wish it didn't have to work that way, but they're not putting a lot of money on the bench. I'm serious. And if you're, I'm not saying if you're not getting scholarship money, don't go there. But if the head coach isn't necessarily recruiting you or talking to you, and it's just the assistant coach, that might say something. The head coach gets who he really wants to get. That speaks volumes on how you're valued. Um, so I just think it's you have to go where you're valued. You understand. And I think for guys looking to go these really big time schools because it kind of fits this persona that they're trying to fill. I'm like, listen, if you're trying to go to a huge school and you're not valued, like do you really want to sit the bench for 2 years and then play? Or would it be better to go to a school where you know you're gonna play? You know you're gonna play for 2 years and then maybe try and transfer to a bigger school. A huge school is more likely going to take someone who has 2 years of experience of playing every minute of every game over an MLS Academy guy who just came in and is probably going to redshirt.
Mhm.
So I think those are some things I help people think through. I'm like, look, you know if you're going to play, you really do. Like you do. I promise. People will tell you, oh, I don't know. I'm like, you know in the back of your head, based off of financials, conversations, like what their opinion of you is. And that's where that value piece is. And there's nothing wrong with giving it a try. So I just think it goes back to that balance between comfortability and value. And if you can strike that well, the success that you will set yourself up for is far greater than most. Far, far, far greater than most, because so many people make the mistake of trying to fill this idea of what other people want or what other people are. And that's where I think I've learned and been able to kind of communicate to guys being recruited and even in college. And I speak that to myself as well, because it's a hard game. Like it's very mentally draining. It's fun, but it sucks. It's fun, but it
Yep.
sucks. And that's, I think, the importance of, having people around you who love and who care and who will speak truth into you.
What would you say is one of the biggest challenges for you individually through your journey or currently? I mean, it could be anywhere through.
Yeah. I would say it's kind of a two answer. I think comparison is probably the one thing that I don't know how I'll get over. I'm getting there, but I think comparing myself to other people, but I also think kind of in academy life, like right after that U17 year, I was invited out by the Independents who were in the USL Championship um, for about, I think, to spend the fall with them. I was cut in 4 days. I was cut in 4 days. Went to Charleston, or was not invited to preseason by Charlotte's first team. So being cut by the Independents in 4 days, was, I mean, so hard. Not being invited to first team preseason, was then sent to Charleston for preseason, was cut in 3 days, all within about a month. And so that just like was his biggest slap in the face, because I grew up and almost had this false sense of pride where it's like, oh, Bryce is going to be the first homegrown at Charlotte, blah, blah, blah. No, cut from Independence, didn't even get a look at Charlotte, and then cut from Charleston. So I think realizing that my path is not like everyone else's, and seeing other people, some of my friends go to preseason, seeing some of my friends sign homegrown contracts, seeing some of my friends kill it at these big time schools, I think it's the biggest challenge for me is, well, how do you get over that? How do you get over getting cut 3 times? How do you get over being alone after you get cut? We're not knowing where I was going to play next. Like literally the spring of my senior year, I did not know where I was going to play next. I was like, okay, I'm not kidding. I almost went to school early. It was Friday and I called my coach, hey, can I come to school? Or this was Saturday. And he was like, yeah, school starts Monday. So I started sorting out stuff to go to school in 2 days to go early my freshman year, because I didn't know what to do. And so I think it's so real. And I think it happens more often than people think, that you get cut, you don't make what you want, and you find yourself not knowing what's next. And I think there's a lack of vulnerability because this sport is prideful. This sport is full of selfishness. I think getting over that was probably the hardest thing for me, is finding truth that I can still play. Like I'm still a good player regardless of what people think. And I think that's like, it's almost annoying, the cliche, but it's like where you're valued. Like I wasn't valued there, and that's okay. And then I got another shot at the Independence and found value there. And then even in college, it's watching guys be super successful and watching other people sign at second teams or first teams. I'm like, man, like I played with or against you. Like, why not me? Like, why am I still here? I think the comparison aspect, the comparison is the thief of joy, and that's, I have felt that and experienced that to a freaking T. Like to the point of like, man, I can't even enjoy training because my friend did this. I think for me, getting over it is rewiring how you view it. Like I started to think of things like, man, I'm blessed to be at a D1 school where I play. Like I have free shoes and I'm playing on a field that looks like a carpet. It's so nice. Like I'm getting an education. I'm living with my best friends. I'm getting free food. Like who am I to start complaining? Who am I to start comparing? I think it's once you put on this mindset and this lens of gratitude, only then do you start to get over those hardships, get over the comparison, get over that being cut. Like I'm telling you, I get cut from Charleston. I hung up the phone and the coach called me. I just cried. I was like, how? Like how? Like, am I not as good? Because I started to look at something else rather than look at what I've been blessed with. So I think those that like legit example of being cut, but then that constant theme of comparison are things that's so hard to get over. But I think I'm slowly learning through wise counsel and through just experience on, it's just the perspective you view things through. The lens that you view things through is really what's going to change and sets you up. Because I'm like, man, you know how many people would want to be in my shoes to play at Liberty? So many. Like,
So many.
it's a smack in the face to everyone that I would not, that I would start to complain, that I would start to compare. Like, no, 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 no. I'm not hurt. I still have my ACL in place, you know? So I think it's starting to look at that, and then slowly things start to fall back in line.
That is good, man. That's really good. That's a good mindset. Keep it.
Yeah,
You learn that through sports, and you can take it everywhere.
exactly. I know. That's the goal.
Man, how was Columbia?
Oh, it was one of a kind. I'll tell you. I mean, some of the craziest memories I'll have forever was made on that trip. It was great. I mean, from playing games to like service projects to getting baptized and like just being with a really special group of guys was, I mean, it was one of a kind, that's for sure.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. You guys went for a week?
Yeah, so we went to school for a week. So it was basically a 2-week trip. We were at school for like 5 days training. And then we we were gone for about 8 to 9 days. We had like 8 days in Colombia, basically like 2 full travel days. Um, so I mean, we were in Colombia for about 8 days, but it was more of like a 2-week trip for everyone, considering we went to school and then we left from school and then went back to school, and everyone went home.
I see. Interesting.
Yeah.
What was the coolest part of the trip?
Man, I mean, it's really hard to not say being baptized. Like, I think that for sure will be like the coolest thing for me. We did this project, which was probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but it was really cool. Basically, we went up to the top of a mountain. We had to take like these ski lifts basically up to the top of the mountain. Walked
Okay.
about two miles to this village that was strictly displaced communities. And while we were there, we learned the next day that they had to pay the cartel and gangs not to like rob us and while we were up there 10 days in advance.
Wow.
So we had guys like looking around us, not at us, for protection. And basically what we did is we carried these 60 to 80 pound sandbags through the village to the soccer field that we were building. And we did it for 3 hours and then we had to leave. It was the hardest thing I've ever done, but it was just a really cool kind of picture of the importance of, brothers around you, because we couldn't carry it from beginning to end. We all did the first bag, we went beginning to end, and it was like impossible. So we had to break up into kind of one group brings it here to here, this guy here to the stairs to the field. And just this picture of like sharing each other's burdens, like passing the sandbag off to the next guy and just encouraging him. That was probably the coolest like picture of kind of ministry and love and community that I think I've seen in a long time. And something that was, I mean, it was so hard. Like, it was unbelievably hard, but I think that was my favorite memory. We did some freshman hazing, but I can't disclose what went on then.
Of
But
course, all good and fun, I'm sure.
exactly,
That
exactly.
Did you ever think you'd have an experience like this in college?
No, I really didn't. Like, I really thought it was just kind of all business. Everyone just wants to win. Like, I thought it was, we went and played games and trained, and I really thought that was the focus. Was like, hey, like we're gonna go train and play games. Let's do that, which is great. So I thought that was gonna be the focus, and it just was so far from that being the focus. And I never ever thought that I'd have a trip like that, especially like with a Division I college. So no, I didn't expect a lot of things, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Would you say so did you guys do this last year, or do incoming freshmen not do it, or
No, this is the first time the team's done it. So basically, like you can do a trip every 4 years. Um, and we just decided, I guess, I mean, the staff decided to do it this summer. And so the incoming freshmen got to go. It's like the first thing they did with the team was get to go on this trip. And for like me as a sophomore and the guys that are juniors, seniors, and guys that are 5th years, it's the first time we've ever done it. So it's kind of a first for everyone.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, speak to how much that like you said, talked about the brotherhood. I mean, that's going to empower your team, right? For the whole season.
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole new, like, I don't know, just bond. And I mean, obviously stuff like that helps no matter what, like even outside of the game, like in life and just whatnot. But I think you have something special to unite around that motivates something for a season. So I think everyone kind of has now, I don't know, this extra jump in them to work for each other, to love each other, but also to like do it on the field.